So there's a couple of stories that are like right now. One of them involving Iowa State. We'll get to that in a second. Also with West Virginia head coach and Hall of Famer Bob Huggins. Let's start with Scott Docterman, who is a college football writer. Iowa State University is Department of Intercollegiate Athletics aware of online sports wagering allegations involving approximately 15 of our active student athletes from football, wrestling, and track and field in violation of NCAA's the university rules. The university has notified the NCAA and will take appropriate actions to resolve these issues.
It's going to keep happening a lot of places because here's the thing about gambling now. I said it the other day with the Alabama thing. It's so easy to do. There was a time in America where, I mean, I guess you relatively easy if you knew the right people, but you still had to call a guy who would make a call to another guy at a phone booth. Like, those are the things that happened. Now, because of the legality of it, and even though all these kids might be of age, you do sign an agreement that you're not going to gamble while you are a student athlete, just like you sign an agreement that you're not going to do it when you're a professional athlete because of integrity concerns. So you get one or the other. Sometimes you have to sacrifice things in life, and it is very easy to do, and kids are going to think they're going to get away with it. But the problem with that is that you're doing it. None of them did this by the mail, right? They didn't drop it in with an alias. They did it from this thing right here, right?
Yeah.
From an account that's probably really, really traceable. And there are all, like we found out about Alabama, there are all these watchdog groups that are sweeping and looking for irregular activity. So there are ways. You're not going to get away with it. You're not some mastermind. So it's going to happen a lot. This is probably the new, this kid got a plane ticket, kind of a thing that pops up, because it's going to happen a lot.
Yeah, just reading the comments makes me have so many different thoughts, from like somebody saying, now let's expand into high school sports and sports betting, because that's what we did with NIL, right? It was like, yeah, let's do it here and worry about the problems later. But that was funny. There's a few funny comments here. Iowa apparently involved as well, so it's both of the schools. Iowa, there was a story out a couple hours prior about their baseball team and a couple of players being withheld this weekend because of thoughts that they were involved in this. So both Iowa schools are apparently dealing with some sports gambling issues at the moment. But yeah, obviously that's 15 athletes. That's a lot. That's a good chunk of people. And I don't know how you stop it either. Like clearly it's I don't know how it's not well known that like you're risking your eligibility and your NCAA livelihood by doing that. I would have thought that that's hammered home into the heads of every single one of these athletes by now. Clearly, schools need to do more, however much more they can do to drill that in further. But I guess it's going to take multiple stories like this, of which we've had multiple in the last week. I mean, Alabama just fired their baseball coach for something like this.
And when that happened, what did my question? Every AD around the country was like, oh, my God.
So, yeah, it's like the dams are starting to, have a little trouble holding the water back, and it does feel like there's a flood coming or something, because it's starting to pile up these stories in pretty quick fashion. And yeah, you wonder, especially if these this isn't like just this happened Friday and boom, here we go. Like, if there's some investigations going on, how many are going on right now that we don't know about potentially, right? How many more might pop up in the future that we don't know about? So yeah, this is part of, allowing sports betting to be such a huge part of sports in general is you run these risks. And like, I was pointing out the comments, it's like somebody mentioned, you watch anything and you're hit with a DraftKings ad like every 30 seconds. I mean, it's unavoidable if you watch sports, especially. Like, you can't watch sports now without some sort of sports gambling advertisement 500 times or some bonus. Dude, I was watching, we talked WWE like a few weeks back and how they were introducing it. They had a pay-per-view this past weekend in Puerto Rico. It was actually really awesome. Bad Bunny was incredible. His entrance was awesome.
Do you know who Bad Bunny is?
No, is that a rapper?
He's the biggest music artist in the world. The world. Okay. He's Latin trap is really kind of his genre. But he came out. It was an incredible entrance. Like if you just get chills over things like that, watch the Bad Bunny entrance.
When you finally do watch Bullet Train, like I told you to, Smokey, he's actually in that movie for a few minutes.
I got this video.
Yeah, he's a super talented dude.
Yeah.
Like he's an incredibly talented, biggest music artist in the world right now, bar none. But so I was watching this pay-per-view, and all of a sudden, like this backstage segment pops up, and I think it was like Bobby Lashley and some other guy, and they're like promoting, or Big E. They're promoting the DraftKings WWE odds, and like, do you think? And I was wondering how they were going to do this, right? Because the outcome's predetermined. Mm-hmm. So like, if you could be an employee and just bet because you know who's going to win, even though it gets changed, whatever. But they were actually doing like, do you think a steel chair will be involved in this match? Bet on that, or will this be a DQ or a count out?
It
or
would have to be all props that are things that, in the improvisational nature of what's going on in the ring, happen.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Even though some of that's still planned too, a lot of that. So that's how that's how they're doing it. But yeah, I'm watching WWE. They're talking about betting on WWE, and I'm like, it's scripted. So it's just everywhere you look. I don't know how you hold it back at this point. And this is just another issue for college football, college basketball, college athletics as a whole. Clearly, baseball's heavily involved already. It's another thing for them to have to struggle with right now.
I'm seeing the entrance. It's
crazy. You can't watch it without the volume, though. The volume's what makes the entire thing.
All right, well, we have that story. Number 2, this one here,